We are going to cover the soil and protect it from heat and erosion.
Our soil needs the same thing that we need. It needs to be blanketed in the winter and shaded in the summer.
Another benefit of keeping soil covered is that there's also less weed pressure.
So taking care of the soil has a direct correlation with conserving the water that we have and the resources we have.
So you're reducing the temperature, and then you're also creating a layer that keeps the moisture in. And if you do at least that, you are halfway there.
And it doesn't really matter how much rainfall you get. The saying is how much you keep.
You do really want to pay attention to your fields and the amount of organic matter and the structure to your soil in terms of that water holding capacity.
One of the most powerful tools to protect the soil when you don't have the natural vegetation back is to use wood chips or other natural materials to spread out over the soil. There's also a lot of the carbon and natural spaces that helps produce in terms of seeping nutrients down or creating a layer that promotes a lot of fungi coming in.
There's two main things that we think about when we're looking at the interaction of water in a rainfall and the soil surface. And so the first thing, obviously from a plant standpoint, we want as much water to infiltrate into the soil as we can get. The other thing that we think about and talk about is runoff water. Now, we want this runoff obviously to be clean and of good quality because it's going to eventually end up in our creeks and rivers. So from that standpoint, keeping the soil covered is going to reduce that raindrop impact. When that raindrop comes down and hits something, those leaves or that litter will be there to break that energy. If you don't have that, it's going to hit the soil surface and it's going to start breaking down those soil aggregates. Then they're eventually going to erode away down into our creeks and rivers. And they're going to take nutrients, chemicals, whatever with it.
You hear these guys in the Midwest that have 3-4% organic matter. And then I look at a soil test and I've got 1.4, 1.6, 1.8. I'm discouraged that I don't have the organic matter. Then I'll pull the soil test from whenever I tilled, right when I started farming just 5 years ago, and I had 0.6, 0.8, 0.9. I've almost doubled my organic matter in the 5 years. The total number doesn't sound just great, but really, if you compare to where I was, there's a lot of improvement.
The most powerful tool in regenerating soil from wood chips is shifting the ratio of bacteria to fungi in the soil. So a lot of the best cutting-edge research has shown that when you have damaged soils, it's pretty much bacteria and cyanobacteria. But as you start to get moisture in the soil and cool it down, you start to get fungi growing. So in a way, you could think of this as fungi food, because as your soil recovers, the ratio of fungi starts to take off and push from 20, 30, 40, 50, 80, 90%. So in the healthiest soils in the world, you're gonna have majority fungi, and that fungi is incredibly powerful because it actually has a physical effect on the soil. The more fungi you have, the more tendrils of mycorrhizae the fungi are growing out, and they're just holding pieces of soil together, and you get these little balls that are called soil aggregates. The bigger your soil aggregates, the bigger the spaces in between. The bigger the pore space in between those aggregates, the more water holding capacity.
But we have such an abundant amount of phosphorus and potassium in the soil that is unavailable to the plant, but it's there. Utilization of cover crops can scavenge those different nutrients, and once that plant scavenges that nutrient, dies, and then it makes that nutrient plant ready, available for the next crop. Pretty much you change the no-till and utilize cover crops, you can go ahead and cut out phosphorus and potassium applications right away.
We struggle a lot with Bermuda grass, but because we are able to densely plant cover crops, about 3 times the suggested rate, we really suppress those weeds and keep them at bay, at least during the growing season. Another thing is the number of inputs that we are putting into the soil has also reduced. So we're spending less on fertilizers, and now that money can be used for other activities that benefit that enrich students' experiences out here.
Improving your soil health will improve and increase the infiltration rate and increase the water holding capacity. And it does this by increasing the soil aggregates, it'll increase the soil organic matter, and it will increase the amount and diversity of the soil life.
So if you can keep it all by doing the principles of soil health, then you're going to conserve that water. And if you're irrigating to supplement that rainfall, if you do one less irrigation pass, you just saved thousands and thousands of gallons of water. And we don't have any water to waste. We really don't have enough water according to what we're growing.